sound. All right, what is happening? We're gonna do some storyboard portfolio reviews today. Figured I'd start doing a few preparation for the fall, try and help some people out if they're interested. I think things are slowly coming back and some things are in development, so I think there might be some job opportunities more so in the fall, and going in a Lightbox is always a good time to showcase things that you've been improving on over the last year. Let's see. I don't think. Let's see if I can get a camera here. Yep, I think that works. Okay, cool. Put it down here. Okay, cool. Well, let's just get started. So I had Joy and Alex shared their links, the only two people that shared their links on my Instagram post. So I'm going to start with Joy. I briefly looked through both of them, but she linked, Joy linked their storyboard portfolio. So I'll kind of do a broad go over the entire website, and then I will give some feedback on the website as a whole. And then I'll get into actual portfolio piece feedback. So first off, it's pretty clean, neat. Everything is clear where everything is laid out, so that's great. Banner thing is cool. So we've got different projects here. You can click through animatic. A little bit about the project. Okay. Okay, graduate film. Very cool. You can click through it as well. And then this is probably the storyboards for it. Okay. So there's a lot there to go through, so that's cool. Animation, I think this is your finished stuff. Oh yeah, this is cool. It's got a nice reel. Okay, so this is great. Backgrounds. So what I would suggest is to so these are okay, those are dated. So one thing, I would put your backgrounds with your animation, and I would just have each. So the reel is great. That's probably the first thing people are just gonna scrub through. So that's nice. And then I would think I would maybe have something like this, what you've done here, and then have it as you can click into the project, and from there you can see the video again, okay, that works. And then have a separate project page, so when you click on it, you can see everything that was done with it. So you would show your storyboards, you would show the background images, you would show your character designs, that kind of thing. That way you can just get rid of this other tab, so people don't have to go somewhere else. Similar to I guess I don't have. Oh, I've gotten rid of that. I don't share kind of the behind the scenes stuff necessarily, but I would basically, you were to click on a project, it would go to a separate page, and then just include everything you've done for that on a separate page. That way you don't have to do backgrounds. And then design. So this is like graphic design stuff. So for animation and storyboard specific application, I would probably remove design from your website and just have that as a separate web page if you because you clearly do this professionally. So I would just have a separate design web page. I think that's kind of common feedback, is to make sure that everything is pretty clear what you're going after. Like, people don't want to see that you do a million different things. They kind of just want to see one specific thing. So yeah, I would keep your animation page and then your storyboard page. And within your animation, you can have your reel and honestly, so this is cool, but I would probably just have the reel start playing and replace this. So make sure that it's sized properly to like this aspect ratio. I guess you'll just have black on either side, but just have your reel just immediately start playing, so people don't have to do anything. And then when they scroll down, they can see the different projects. And I won't give any notes on animation because I've never done final animation stuff like that. So let's start with the storyboard stuff. I noticed I would go ahead and just, this is good. This side-by-side thing. Is this just a different one? Opening sequence. Yeah, so I would keep these and I would just get rid of these just because you already have the two other videos. And then this is cool. I mean, this is fine to show behind the scenes stuff. And again, you can probably just get rid of this graduate film because it'll be underneath your animation. And what you can do is you can leave the storyboard here. Yeah, and again, put this under the project. So like under in your menu bar up here, you'll just have a drop down menu basically. And then there you can have these character designs in that project page. So looking at this, and let me just take a quick peek through here. And that. So these two towards the end, compared to this one at the top, like this one looks much newer, and you've definitely improved on your figure drawing and draftsmanship skills. So I would just stick with this one, and because you really, less is really more in this case. I mean, I've seen people get hired with just one storyboard sequence on their portfolio, so I would advise to just have your best stuff up. Probably same thing goes for this one. Like, you could have this on your animation page because you did rigging and stuff like that, if I remember correctly. So that's great, but I would probably remove the storyboards from here, and I would probably just only have this one and and maybe these guys once I go through them. Just because you want to show quality and you don't want to show anything that's might be dated or you think you can do better now and that kind of thing. So and again, people like recruiters don't have the time to sit through and watch every single animatic, so you know, they'll scrub through and they'll immediately see whether or not you could do the job. Yeah, like these drawings, your piece at the top is much better than these drawings. And I'll leave it at this because I'll use this shot to show something. And then Sketchbook, you could make that a separate tab. So you just have animation, storyboards, and a sketchbook. That's what I do on mine. I just have a separate one where I throw different things on there. It can be videos too. I do like short little exercises on my iPad. Okay, but overall, very nice, very cool. Figure drawing is always great if you can show. I don't think it's necessary to put the time on them, and don't date them, but just take your time and do some good high quality figure drawing, and just throw a few of those on. Keep them digital. You can do them in traditional, but if you do that, just try and get a good scanner or a good picture. I think libraries usually have scanners you could use. Okay, let's go through your first scene, which might be your stronger scene. So can I? Yeah, okay, I'm just going to click through. Okay, there's some cool stuff in here. I like some of the camera moves. Drawings are nice. I think one key thing to maybe take into consideration is some of the scale in the environment, and how your characters, like where they feel they are in the scene. So like here, the trapdoor feels kind of close, and like she's almost she's at the column, and she could be halfway to halfway. It just feels the room is smaller here. And then she's already so here she hasn't moved here. And then here she feels further away immediately. So there's some time, it's one thing to time jump, but it also just feels like she's a bit further away immediately. And then here again, she seems very small compared to, I know she's like kneeling down, but she just seems a tad smaller than I thought she might be. And as far as Dutch tilts go, I don't think you need them as much as you're using them. I think you should keep them very, it's very stylistic. So I think you should try and keep them as, and here again, the room feels very big. So there's some things we can look at to changing that. But Dutch tilts are, I'd keep them much more subtle. I think this is too much of a Dutch tilt, and then use them, very sparingly. But let's see. And I think this scene is, there's a lot of cool stuff here, and I think you should probably keep going. Maybe make a longer scene. Something that's like 1 to 2 minutes, so you can introduce the characters, flesh out the story a bit, maybe reveal some stuff that's going on behind here, behind the trapdoor. So maybe instead of ending on the spell, it either doesn't happen or maybe it does, and while the spell's happening, the trapdoor opens, and then the characters have to encounter what's underneath the trapdoor. But I would start with a establishing shot here. So instead of opening on this, I would show the entire environment, And this could be a great place to maybe throw in if you make like a mock environment in Blender. Um, you could totally have like an establishing shot. Let's see. Um, so just gonna do some. Just get a peek at the scene again. Okay. So I mean, I would try and have some depth in the shot, but keep it pretty. So maybe you have a column here in the foreground. I'm gonna go ahead and. It's always good to have your grids in. So you want something that really shows the scale, and maybe if the lady on the right in the not the one that's not dressed like a witch, if she's your main character, you could probably have her like walk into frame, so you could see the witch is like maybe she's looking through the bookshelves or something. So she could be somewhere here, and then your main character walks into frame here, and is like maybe she's like in a hurry, like she knows that something's up and that the witch is actively looking to do something, which could cause a problem. So you could have all your other bookshelves here. So again, just try and keep like the whole scale, show like the ceiling, just a wide lens. Because you definitely show a bit of that, but I think it'd be cool to have, get the audience and really immersed where they are. So something like that. And you could have maybe, the camera could like dolly in or something. With her, but she'll run past the camera, because what you want to try and do is create as much depth as you can in every shot. Let's see. Oops, my pen is not. Let me refresh this. Actually, I'll just open it in speaker deck. Yeah, so if she like runs into frame here, you could have another shot where it really shows the space. So kind of one of these down shots like this. Again, it's very important to get your perspective correct here. So maybe you have like a column, and she's like, remember, keep the screen direction. So here she's going right to left. So we want to just keep that going. And she'll always be screen right, which I think you do you do not cross the line, so that's good. So we can show her running across this expansive room. You have all your bookcases, something like that. That could be very cool. And then maybe you have her run up close to camera. And she's looking up or towards. You don't have to. So I notice a lot of people like to do these low angle cameras, and it's, you know, one of the things I learned at Lucasfilm is really trying to imagine yourself on set and trying to film animation like as if you were filming live action. So just try and picture yourself having your camera on a tripod. So you don't necessarily need to have everything be a low angle, but you can keep it like, you know, pretty pretty dead on, and it can still feel cinematic if you can get that if you add some depth of field. You know, she just, you know, have her, she's running, have her hair moving. I mean, it's all like extra drawings, but it can really help sell the moment. You have something like this, and maybe she runs towards camera and then stops, and you can show where she came from. Maybe she's framed in a doorway way in the background. Let's change that. Something like that. Okay, I'm really rushing these drawings. You know, she calls out to the witch. And then you would cut to the reverse. You know, maybe I was thinking she could also be up on a ladder, so she could even be like up here, which could be cool. You can show like height dynamic. So maybe she does that. So if she does that, then she can look up, and then here we would have, you could either do over the shoulder or you could just do POV, but I'll just do this for that sake. So you have this kind of shot here. You know, maybe she's like throwing, it'd be kind of funny if she's throwing books off. Or if you want to keep it very serious, she just does it in not a comedic way, because you can definitely do that. And then if you have good perspective, then it makes everything a lot easier. There's a column, maybe another archway. She's framed in the archway. Something like that. So I think you just need a few extra shots in the beginning to establish the scene, establish the characters, and maybe you can explain the witch's motive here. You know, then you're motivating a cut to her. And then again, depending how close you are, you kind of just want to keep everything the right scale. So this is kind of where a 3D program can come in handy, because you can kind of just set up a couple of, you know, with Grease Pencil and Blender, you could set up like a couple of character drawings and just kind of move them about and get a feel of what's the accurate scale. a representation of, you know, maybe she's like this or something, and then she could be over here. You have stuff in the foreground, you know, maybe books or papers are coming out of the thing, and she grabs what she needs. And then you can get to something like this, so that in the same shot she just starts going down, and then you can have her moving already in the background towards her. So then you could have like a wider shot. I'm trying to not maybe keep some depth, but you could have and then have all the books on the ground here. So yeah, I think you just need like a few more shots to kind of set up this scene, and then the witch lady could be saying what she needs to be saying, that what she's trying to do, and then you get to a moment like this, and then you can reveal the trapdoor. And then again, like here, I wouldn't do a Dutch angle so much. Here, I think the way you have it angled, I'd kind of keep the same angle that you have it drawn on the floor here. So just, if you want to punch in, just have it from her perspective, maybe it was just a little bit more down. Oh, what's up, Raj? Could do something like that, or that might not be as menacing. So you could even do it, you know, so you really see. You could have even lower to the ground. It's kind of hard to draw, but you have something where it's. This is exaggerated. You have the doors, like, you know, the camera's basically on the ground, and you're just the trapdoor is flinging up towards camera a little bit or something. Still give it that 3/4 angle that you had over here, like this. But then you can just have it. Yeah, and then in the background you could have, you know, this is all blurred. But you could have bookshelves, column. Let's see. I would, after this shot, I would maybe do something that's like, that is, I mean, this works. But I would maybe consider, oops. Maybe like a a wide shot. She's rushing over. And have her, when you draw this, have her like, I mean, not saying that you need to go back and do the scene, but in the future, cutting on action is something that is a normal thing to do, which feels very smooth. So as she's like, have a pose or two where she's going down to her knees, and then you would cut to this shot here. And you might even be able to, because here the camera's kind of like craning up and then panning over, which is great. I mean, having camera moves alone is really important in your scenes. So maybe you could probably just get away with a pan and not have it crane up. So if you were lower on the ground, she's really trying to hold this down. Then you can, from here, I don't know how to copy. There we go. And then you can have her she could turn over, and then your camera just pans. So it's a simpler camera move. Like this. And you would then have the witch lady kneeling like this, and maybe you have some glow effect here, so you can kind of like something light, so you can kind of see that she's up to something. And then maybe you cut to her reaction. So cut to this shot first. So she could get up in this shot here. Sorry, I keep pressing space over here. And then you cut to a shot like that. You have this shot here. She finishes getting up out of frame. And then she walks forward saying, "What are you doing?" And then you can then cut to back to a closer shot of her. Maybe you're tighter on her, and you're like slowly dollying in, and this will feel like you're with this lady. Oh, Glinda. Yeah, so you're with Glinda. What are you doing? And then if you're dollying in, then it feels like you're from her perspective, like walking across the room back towards her. Um, Maybe slightly down because she's standing up. And then you have this kind of shot. And then you can cut back to. I'd cut to like something like this. Maybe a bit more 3/4. There we go again. And you can use the hat to like frame her. There's a shot in. Let's keep the eye line. Try and always keep the eye line like up here in the upper third. It's just a more cinematic feel. Maybe we're a bit tighter. But you can have her hat like this. So this whole thing is just silhouetting her. And then you could cut to the book, what she's looking at, which you have. Yeah, so that's cool. And then, again, the Dutch tilt is just a little too much. So if you want to do like a Dutch tilt, try and keep it very minimal. Because even if you do a little bit, like it's gonna immediately feel as if maybe get the whole book in here. It might be better to just go with like a wider shot showing how much closer she is to her. Yeah. So maybe, or something like this. You have all the stuff coming off. She's walking towards her. You can still have a bit of depth. But I mean, all in all, I think you've got great drawings, good emotion. You can really feel the characters, what they're feeling. I mean, this is very cool here at the end. So stuff like that's great. You can totally do these things with these fast camera movements. But yeah, maybe just a couple additional shots to kind of help, for clarity's sake, like where they are, what they're doing, show a bit more character, acting within each shot, add a few extra drawings. But I mean, overall, it's a great little scene. Just need to lengthen it a bit more and introduce the characters. And that's what's really tough with like a 1 to 2 minute scene, is to actually sell the idea and, you want to cram all this extra lore into it, but it's best to just keep it simple. Because I did that in my first couple of scenes where I was just like, oh, it's all this whole world thing, but like you just got to keep it as relatable and simple as possible. But there's definitely a lot of good stuff. Um, yeah. And then, so again, like something like I would probably remove this one just because the level that this is at is much. I think it's a little bit higher than this one, and this is obviously done with the boards are done in a specific style for the way it was animated. So I just keep this on your animation page, and then here. Yeah, I mean the animation's awesome, very impressive, very cool. But yeah, you can totally keep this stuff. Maybe, or I mean, yeah, keep these two or just one of them, and excuse me, you could link to the other couple, but just trying to keep as much and as little information as possible. Um, yeah, so I think I would just maybe there's a lot of creative stuff in here. Um, Honestly, I probably maybe just move this whole like this as its own project page underneath your animation because I think your storyboard at the top is just a lot better than like it's clear that you've improved. So I just wouldn't show that kind of stuff. And I think, for instance, yeah, see Livebox 2020. So this is from a few years ago. So you've definitely improved a lot. So I would just get rid of this. And there was a shot that I was gonna show you one point that I wanted to. Yeah, so this shot here, when the reason why perspective is so important in storyboarding is that you're trying to show the camera that someone's going to be that layout or previs is ultimately going to have to use. Um, so whenever you draw a perspective grid, you have to draw everything else in relation to that perspective grid. So if you have this like really extreme high angle, it's like a worm view basically, and it's a wide lens, and it's doing something like this. You have to draw every part of the body to this unless they're doing something else. So if the perspective is like this, then you need to keep that perspective going. And you can just use your grid lines. If you do a good grid, then you can just draw to that. If that makes sense. So like, I'm doing very structural drawing here. This is not how I would actually draw. But yeah, because right now the way that this is drawn is the person's not. It's like they're tilting over towards the camera versus like standing in line with the perspective. So this is just something to keep in mind whenever you're doing low angle cameras and that kind of thing. Because honestly, you could totally just get away with doing like a long lens that's relatively flat. Something like this. and you just have like a, you know, I don't know. Something like this. And you can still have like people in the foreground run by. You can keep it pretty cinematic. Yeah, it still is. So you don't always need to try and do these like extreme angles because it's just harder to draw. And honestly, like, remember, if you think about it, if you put yourself in that position to like film something while being basically on the ground, like, it's not comfortable, and you're not going to do that the whole day. So yeah, you can still do something like this, and then and have people like running through the foreground. They're all blurred out and stuff. Yeah, you can create depth, and then you can also show like the environment. So I don't know, they're in the desert or something. I don't. It looks like an arid place. Lots of rock formations. Yeah. So you can frame that way as well, because otherwise you'd be framing with the clouds, and that's not a reliable way to go. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's clear you've improved over the last couple of years, which is awesome to see. And I would just keep your best work, and you need a full sequence. So you definitely want something that is about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, and if you can try and make an animatic out of it, that's a lot of fun. That's a massive part of the process. And I've got a video on my YouTube about how I did the K9 animatic that I did for Lightbox a couple years ago, and yeah, so I think so you could definitely keep pushing this scene, or maybe there's like another story you have with these characters you want to explore, and just keep it relatable. Not a whole lot of exposition, just character conflict. Keep it simple, and yeah. And about me. Awesome. Well, Joy, thanks for sharing your website for this live stream. And let's just check everything. Yeah, everything works. Cool. It's always like, I'm working, but I always check to make sure that my website works every couple months. You never know what could happen. But awesome, very cool. And you're from Australia. That's very cool. So you're doing a lot of great work. It looks like you're animating, winning awards, and submitting things, which is great. So just keep going, and yeah, look forward to seeing more of your posts. And send me something if you want me to look at something, if you're working on something new ahead of Lightbox this year. And because you got 2 months. Cool. All right, let's move on to Alex. Or wait, first let me go through the website. Cool. So portfolio, about, contact. So you got a bunch of different little videos, animatics, some previs looking stuff, which is cool. Okay, lots of stuff. So you've done a lot of work. I like seeing this like hybrid. You've got a plain model where you need it, so you don't need to draw that. That's very cool. Yeah, it's nice to see you're working with a bunch of different elements, whether it's images or models and overlays, that kind of thing. So you're versatile. But yeah, Alex, the same thing goes for what I said about joy, just having your best stuff first and only your best stuff. So if you have a lot of um, if you have a lot of if you have a lot of pieces, I would just pick 3 to 4 pieces that are very good, and maybe you can just merge all of these images like this into one slider deck, like gallery, kind of like you have up here. Just have them so they can either click it and play through them. Um, let's see. Very cool. Playing around with some camera moves and compositing things. Let's check out the scene at the top. So this looks like grease pencil. I like how you pixelated the drawings. That's funny. Very clever. Let's see. Let's check out some of these other ones. My partner just came home, so you can hear her with the dogs. I apologize. So I would keep, and maybe, oh, this is, so I'm on my Cintiq, so some of the things might look weird on my monitor if it looks normal on your website on like a laptop screen or something. So is this your previous maybe? No, this is the final. Okay. What I would do is for your professional work, I would separate it maybe. Just have a personal personal page and like a professional page. And then when when you're applying to stuff, it's kind of tricky because you want them to look at everything. Yeah, it's kind of hard to, like, you could have all of these Hunt Clash commercials on a separate page, so you can kind of showcase that skill set, and then also have a separate page for your personal animatics and things like that. Let's check out this, because here you got some 3D stuff going on. So you got some cool camera moves, camera animation. So what I would, and what you could do is you could, you know, kind of how Joy had it, where like side by side, with that, with the like with the band music video kind of thing. You could have it in the same video, or just a link to the final, so it doesn't take up too much space. But very cool. It's awesome. I've not played this game, but it came out very, very cool. You can see your shots are in here. I would, for a lot of this, I'm not sure how you did some of this plane stuff, but I would try and use, if you did this in Blender, I would try and use curves as much as possible and just lay the curve out so you get a smooth plane. Especially these World War II planes, like they weren't that maneuverable, so you would want to, you know, draw a curve in Blender and then just have the plane on that curve and just animate it to that curve, so you can get these nice, smooth, like swooping movements. And then the same thing goes with the camera. You can parent the camera to the plane, so you can easily have it, like, you could aim constrain it, or track with it, and it just will allow you, if the plane has a smooth movement, it'll allow you to shoot it more smoothly as well, because you can kind of feel there's like some jerking to it. But like that movement, that camera, like the camera's just moving incredibly fast. And then for all the backgrounds, I would try and stick with like not just a solid color, but actually something more like this, so you can see the depth and like the orientation of the planes, that kind of thing. But I mean, overall, it's very, very cool that you can do all of this stuff. But I can kind of do some drawings for this one because it's a bit more relatable to what a lot of other people do. So let's see, let's do this. So again, same thing from Joy's scene. I would just do a longer scene, establish, you're establishing, which is great, and maybe kind of introduce the characters. You know, you can make this character a bit more menacing with a different camera angle, and personally, a shot like this I wouldn't do, because it's hard to get the camera in this kind of position. Let's see. Okay, so this works. Instead of a flat shot like this, you could also just you could cut closer to this. You know, just slight upshot, so they're definitely in control and they take up most of the frame. Something like this. And then, I mean, that's cool. You won't get that same shot in there. But you could, instead of staying on this shot, you could also like show them dancing one more time, and you specifically point out this guy. I know you've color coded it, but it won't, like in the final animation, it won't be that clear that who the main character is, unless they're clearly another species or something. But I would maybe get a POV shot from this person and something like this, what you've done, and then show them dancing, and the character's clearly like out of, is not in sync with everybody else. Um, you know, maybe another like wide shot and someone in the foreground dancing, and you have your main character here. Dancing like this. Make sure that's all right. And maybe like the camera is, yeah, tracking or something, and you reveal there could be like people here in the foreground too. Yeah, and I would stay away from these high, like unless the camera can really do that in the room, because it kind of feels like it's a smaller room. So in this like wide shot, you could have people stop, and then maybe you cut back to the coach in a medium. Again, like menacing upshot. Maybe this is the glass in the ceiling. And then walking towards camera. And then you would cut to this shot that you have here. But again, you can keep the menacing feel, so you would have him walk into frame like this, depending how tall. It doesn't have to be this extreme, but you could also just and when a lot of this stuff takes a shit ton of work, but what would be cool is if you had the other people, step back, so they're also kind of terrified of the coach, so they're like stepping out of frame in a way, which is really alienating this other character. That kind of thing. This is not totally right, but something like this. Oops, keep hitting Control, and I'll save it anyways. See, in here you jump from this shot to this shot, which it almost feels like you've jumped a line, like you're borderline on the line, the 180 line. So I would go ahead and maybe if you're going to do a shot like that, you could then show the character like this. And you could have, people in the background. Give them different reactions. Maybe they're like whispering, like a couple people whispering to each other. Other people are like also terrified, or maybe someone's like giggling because they know they're in trouble again, or the person's in trouble. Till dawn to practice. And then maybe cut back to a reverse shot. Or it could be, yeah, like over the shoulder. And you would see the person like acting or, posing and saying their lines. Or a dialogue always takes a lot longer than you think, so you could maybe use a couple more shots to deliver it, potentially, or show acting along with it. And here you could do a 3/4. So instead of this, you could then cut back to a wide like this, or maybe you're slightly 3/4 over, so not too much, something like this. Maybe the mirrors here, and then you have you could play around with the scale. That kind of thing. And then they could start walking towards camera like you have here. And then you could cut to you could just cut in on this 3/4. Longer lens or something, and then just have them like maybe like a medium. They fall to the floor. Something like this, and people like walk past frame, past the camera. That kind of thing. So they exit like this. So just gives a bit more depth in the scene and keep that room established and stuff like that. And then, you could continue the story. They're just practicing or this person's practicing the whole night by themselves. And yeah. But very cool using Blender. Again, it's just super helpful to get those skills using a 3D camera, and presumably it's Blender. But okay, well, I think I'm gonna wrap it there. But I hope those are some helpful tips, and nice. It's a fun drawing. 10 Square Games. Okay, sweet. So seems like you're full time there. That's awesome. Well, yeah, hopefully I see some more 3D and Blender work as well. Would love to see more of the video game kind of commercials and things. It's very cool. But yeah, just try and keep looking at. Oh, okay, you also have other stuff. Nice. Oh, very cool. Okay. So you do a bunch of different work and you keep it separate. Okay, right on. Oh, very cool. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, anytime you want to do like a personal portfolio piece, definitely study some other projects like this dancing. I don't know, it could be, you could look at what's the Karate Kid show? The one on YouTube. I forgot the name of it. Cobra Kai, I think. You could, look at that where people are training and practicing different dance. Yeah, Rosh. No. different dance scenes, other martial art kind of training class scenes, just kind of see where they place the camera and what they're doing to, you know, give different characters different power in different situations. Um, but yeah, I'll kind of edit this video down a bit, keep it a little bit more condensed, and we'll have it up on YouTube later. Cool. Well, thanks guys for joining. I'm gonna cut the stream. Again, feel free to ask any questions, comments afterwards, and hopefully, do this every couple weeks or something. That's it.